Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, as usual. You know what, folks, though? Estoy perturbado. I'm perturbed. Why am I? Because I am not ready. I still haven't done my full walkthrough for our staging on Radio Row tomorrow at Netroots Nation in New Orleans. So, looks like I'm not gonna sleep tonight. I'm gonna get up. I'll sleep for 1 hour on that flight. Actually, I think I better get at least 3 hours of sleep tonight. But it's a short hop and a skip from Houston to New Orleans by flight. But I'm not ready. Madre mía, ¿qué está pasando? Anyway, we are gonna have a great show no matter what. Let me welcome my beautiful people. No, this is not a repeat. This is not a repeat. Do you lie? Do you lie? Why do you give me hell in the mornings? I hope you're going to be nicer to me this afternoon, my brother. Do you lie? You know, come on, come on, come on. Anyway, welcome aboard. Adam W's in the house. Remember, I lose the first few dozen, but Adam W's in the house. John Ayer is in the house. Marge KJ says, hello, Egberto de Chesapeake, Virginia. Thank you for being here. Brenda Goodspeed, Jacqueline A. Shorts, PhD, Alice Sunny, Robbie Swanger, Beatrice says, joined from New York. Great to know that we have a quorum. Yes, we do. We have a quorum. I'm talking about for Politics Done Right. We don't have a quorum for the house, this house in Texas. We don't want one. All right. Let's see who else we got here. Harold Peterson, welcome aboard. Albert Anderson. Keisha, how you doing, Keisha? Carol Drake. Jane B in North Carolina. Do you lie? Says repeat. No, no, no. Lydia Posada. Lydia Posada. I think I said that right. Lydia Posada, Bill Brandt's letter. Welcome aboard. Art Sherwood, Adam W. is in the house. Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia. We've also got Eric Hayes from Kingwood at Escosita. Of course, the first person in the house, as usual, was AVQ, El Senor Rudnin. And thank you, Rudnin, for that special year renewal that you gave us, which did just fine for our trip as well. Thank you so kindly, my brother AVQ. Patrick Magner is in the house, one of our great supporters. How you doing, Patrick? Great to have heard you this morning with the great commentary. Let's see, Lita Bearcat from Austin, Texas. Mary Wood from, I'm supposed to memorize these things, right? Because I want to show you guys the mind is not completely fried yet. Long Beach, California. I had to think a little bit more. Hera Denson from Missouri City, Texas. I got Eric Red Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Love my Georgia people. We got Carl Cox from Riverdale, Georgia. And who else we've got in the house? Hey, this is helping my mental acuity as well. So I do that as well. So thank you so kindly. All right, folks. Jennifer Hunter, welcome aboard. Adam says, wish I could be in beautiful New Orleans for Netroots or anything for that matter. Yeah, and then we could go get some coffee and a beignet, right? Because I already have a couple of people that sent me some notes says, Egberto, as soon as we get there, we got to get some coffee and beignet. So we're going to be walking down, what's the name of that street? Whatever the street is. In that hot, humid night, but we're going to have some hot coffee and some beignets. And do you lie? Don't give me hell. If you want to give me hell in person. Come on to New Orleans. That's what you said you were going to do. Let's go to New Orleans and then we can pugilistically work it out. All right, my brother. Bill Brand's letter says no. What is no for New Orleans? Do you like Egberto? My second home is in New Orleans. So come on, let's fight it out in New Orleans. He's a good guy. Actually, Do You Lie is a good guy. He likes to give me hell. So if you go and watch in the morning, he just has to give me hell. But it's okay. You know I love you, right, brother? All right, let's get busy. We had our thing in uh, we had our rally here, the No Kings rally. We This one was called not no. This one was actually called Regime, Get Rid of Regime, or something like that. Well, a young kid. I went up there and I started talking to his mother. Well, actually, I think I said it in a prose. So why don't I just play the prose and you guys can take it from there. Beforehand, let me make sure I don't have anybody else to salute. Michael says, Eric, if Texas does illegal racial gerrymandering outside of census year, the California, Illinois, and New York will extend urban areas into suburban ones and more than balance the house. Look, there are more Democrats than Republicans. There are more Democratic leaning folk than Republicans. People like to say we are a center right country. That's false. The problem is we say things long enough and people start believing it and doing things as well. You ask policy for policy, America is a progressive country. Period. No arguments, no discussion. What we have to do is let our vote represent our values. We haven't been allowed to do that, or rather, we have been hoodwinked into not doing that. And how are we hoodwinked into not doing that? We use all the isms. Let's get rid of all the isms. Let's love each other for who we are. And you do that, the isms fall away. The isms fall away. Then the plutocracy will have to worry about the 21st century Bacon's Rebellion. Look up Bacon Rebellion, folk. Look up Bacon Rebellion. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for Bacon's Rebellion. Adam W. says, yes, but the Democratic Party is still operating as though we're living in the past and way too polite. We need to forget about the establishment Democratic Party, my brother Adam W. What we're doing here and in informing others, that's what we do. But anyway, let's go to the video and then we'll take it from there. Para ver, aquí está. You know, as a progressive broadcaster, media media person, writer, etc., I like to speak to people in sort of an impromptu manner, in a manner where they don't get a chance to prepare. You just kind of listen to what's in their heart, what's on their minds, etc. And when I go to rallies, most of the times, a lot of the people that I talk to are generally shy, and what they would say is that I don't do well on camera, or I don't like to be in, that's what I get most of the times. And what I invariably do is tell the person that, first of all, I'm fairly good at getting people to talk, but secondly, uh, I try to let them know that if you say something that you inadvertently didn't want to say, just let me know. I am trying to get what you want to put out. I'm not trying to find a gotcha moment or anything like that. I want to know where we are. One of the things that I've spoken about with regards to Democrats specifically and how they deal with media and how they deal with consultants. I've constantly said that the Democrats and these guys up in Washington throw all their money on the East Coast and the West Coast with expensive consultants, but they never get to where the people really are. They don't touch the people. They don't hug the people. They don't respect the way people speak. They don't respect that people have minds. And that is one of the reasons why the policies that they come out with and the way they do things is so different. If you take a look at how Danny won in New York, and the leaders of the Democratic Party, neither Schumer nor Hakeem Jeffries, will come right out and said, that's who the people of New York chose. That's who they want. That is the person that will be mayor of New York. They can't drag themselves to accept that this is a true democracy and the people decide. Why? Because Mandami has a particular moniker they don't like. Well, I'm sorry. That's who the people elected. But it shows you that when you're not close to the people, when you're not next to them, here at Politics Done Right, people write in, they call in, we get to see where their minds are. But men in the party don't know that. They know where the minds of the corporatocracy is. They know where the minds of the people who have the most money are. But somehow they really don't know where the minds of the people are. And that is one of the reasons why, even as most Americans are progressives and want progressive policies, we don't get it because, again, these people, they imagine where people are. They imagine what the center is. They imagine that folks wouldn't want certain things. And it turns out quite different. I'm in a very conservative area, and even many of the Democrats in this area tend to be fairly conservative. And I interviewed this young woman and her son. And her son initially didn't want to do anything. And as he saw the interaction between his mother and myself, he just opened up. And to tell you the truth, he made the interview. And he pointed out organically what most Americans feel. And if you doubt it, if you take a look at how the polls are going, even with the immigration thing, Donald Trump started the immigration issue as a matter of hate, to hate your carnal parts, the things that would make you want to harm the other. But as most Americans started to see what it looked like, what it made us look like, they changed their stances. And this young man, you can understand, he never had to change his stance because he was never programmed. He would never allowed his brain to be programmed. But you know what? I couldn't have been more proud of talking to somebody as I was this 18-year-old kid. I want you to listen to this and then we'll take it on the other side. Hello, ma'am. What's your name?
Courtney McGrew.
Courtney, why are you out here on a hot Saturday early in the morning when you could be in bed snoozing, but you're out here? What are you doing here?
Well, we are here protesting and trying to bring awareness and make change after all the terrible things that are happening in our country right now with ICE and everything else.
Now, tell me, what is the thing that touches you the most as far as what's occurring?
I think we are losing our due process and our rights.
Right.
I think that they are taking people off the streets, and it's wrong, and it is a scary, scary time. It's very scary to see this happening in our country, and it feels helpless. So.
It's interesting that you said that because, a lot of people are just, well, it's not happening to us, it's just happening to them, not realizing that that's how it starts in every autocratic regime. That what you get is that they start with one group and then finally it reaches to the group who opposes them. Right. So it could be you.
Yeah, yes. In the original words from the government where it was going to be criminals that were being taken and things like that, and it's not. It's families, and nobody is illegal, and these are all people that are being taken from their families and that are being taken
illegal.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
No human is illegal. We shouldn't treated that way. America's supposed to be a sanctuary, and if we're saying that we can house people who are in need of housing, then we should be able to do that. And I don't see why people need to justify not caring because it won't happen to you. Personally, if you care so much about your morality given by God or whatever, why do you not care about your neighbor getting taken? Or personally, I have a lot of friends. What if they get taken? So just goes to show how lonely you are if you don't really care about other people also being affected by these laws. And I want to see all of my friends having the rights that they deserve and being able to live into the future and getting married and having a family and not having to fight so hard for that every single day. I think that people should just be able to live.
Can I ask you how old you are?
I'm 18.
Let me tell you something. You don't know what you've just done to my spirit. You don't know what you've just done to my spirit because you are the future. And to see that we have a young man growing up in this environment that can articulate that, thank you very much, brother.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. They always tell us that our kids reflect the environment that they were reared in. Thank you for rearing such a good son.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good job.
Earlier on, I was watching a program, and the program was talking about hate and how the thing that she feared the most was that a lot of the people demonstrating the hate that she saw were young men. And it kind of scared her, and that understandably so, if that was not just an offshoot. And my contention is that's exactly what it was. You know, the right has a way of making things loud and larger than they really are. So, yes, she saw a few young people displaying hate, but what I found are people more like the young man that you just heard from. Look, Gen Z, these guys, they don't pull their punches. And as I am talking to Gen Z and whatever an 18-year-old is, I don't know if an 18-year-old is considered Gen Z. I am very positive in what's occurring, at least with our younger folks, the folks that are ultimately going to take over the country. This guy not only gave me hope, he made it clear that that is the direction we are going as a country, even with the bumps that we may run into. And that is what we have to stick with. You know, there are a few people who there's another interview that I did where actually it's one of the leaders of the rally, and she said, you know, we feel helpless, but we can come do this. And I said, no, we're not helpless. We are still in control. And that's what we have to remember. The goal of those paper tigers is to make you believe that you're helpless, to make you believe that you're worthless, to make you believe that you have to do it their way. You know, there are people now talking about leaving the country. There are people talking about, I can't take it anymore. I'm moving to Canada. You know, some people look at me and say, Berto, are you going to move back to Panama? I could. Hell, I could actually run a whole lot of stuff from Panama. We have great internet, great temperature, lower prices, excellent. But I'm an American. I'm an American now. And I will be damned if I allow a bunch of rejects to cause me to leave the country. And that's what all of you, I hope you're saying. This is our country. We cannot let folks who can't survive on their own, folks who look for their look at their deficiency, they try to atone for their own deficiencies on other people. And other people they blame everybody else for their problems. We can't do that. We won't do that. You know, when I get out there to New Orleans tomorrow, I got to set up routers and all that kind of stuff before we get started, but I'm going there early with the expectation that I can still get this 3 o'clock show on from the floor out there tomorrow. But what we're going to do out there tomorrow is strategize and meet with a whole lot of everybody's writers, politicians, activists, all these folks, and hear ideas, hear how people have been successful or not successful in different parts of the country, all that kind of stuff. But the one thing that will never be discussed out there is what if we don't win? Because there isn't what if we don't win. You know, there isn't a what if. The thing is when we get it done. Not if what happened if we don't. It's when we get it done. And I hope all of you that are hearing my voice right now, that is the attitude that we go into this with. See healthy conversation on the YouTube and Facebook chat. Anyway, folks, I like to peruse my TikTok now, and I get a whole lot of folks that sometimes have some great topics that they talk about. And there's this guy. I listened to a couple of his TikToks, but what I want to do is I want to play one of his TikToks that's actually what's the word that I want to use on this particular one? I'm looking for it right now. This one that he speaks about billionaires and the billionaires' intent. Where is it? I thought I saved it. I thought I saved it. Yep, there it is. There it is. Let me go ahead and play this one. And bear with me, guys. Let me go ahead and put it on the screen. And then we can, let's see if I can get it there. Yep, I think that's it. And here we go.
Hey, my name is Michael. I think we're in the end game now. I want to give you some information so that you can prepare and protect your family. I'm not making this to fear bait you. I'm not making this to raise your anxiety. I'm doing this because Heather Cox Richardson and her politics chat last night said knowledge quite literally is power. I want you to think like a billionaire. Billionaires do not trade on money. They trade on information. So here's the signals that I'm watching. I'm a systems entrepreneur, a social impact entrepreneur, trying to survive this myself. I've been unemployed since November of last year. So the jobs report today came out. Oh my gosh, who cares about the jobs report? The jobs report is interesting this time because they just revised the numbers for the last quarter. They were wrong. The numbers over the last 3 months were wrong, painting a better picture of the economy than was actually happening. They revised those numbers down by 258,000 people. So instead of saying the economy, like jobs were good, looking really good, they literally got the numbers wrong because everybody in the government has been under a lot of pressure lately. And now we have 258,000 less jobs than they said for the last quarter. We're also down in participation, economic participation, 60%. That's like near COVID levels. And the average joblessness is up to 24 weeks. So as far as what's next to fall, probably the housing market, probably the car market. And the other day, here's another signal I'm tracking. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was in a closed door meeting where he said that the Trump accounts introduced in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act were a way to privatize Social Security. And Caroline Leavitt immediately came out and said, no, we're trying to put more money in seniors' pocket. But I don't really understand that part, to be completely honest. I don't understand what the goal of privatizing Social Security would be, but I have some theories. So I'd like to paint a big picture around all of this. We have fewer jobs growth over the last 3 months than what has been reported. We had a slowing jobs report this month. Tariffs are now going to go into effect on August 1st. It's August 1st when I'm making this. And what's the point of all of this, right? So Knitting Cult Lady, big fan, often says that it would take 10 years or something to get all of the guns out of people's houses, and that by nature of our geography and our culture, an armed conflict is not the way that the government, Trump, whatever, his regime, would actually take power. However, if you create the circumstances where everyone is starving, no one can afford their house, and then you introduce an executive order like last week saying, by the way, homelessness, we're going to now start putting people in facilities in cooperation with state and local governments. it paints this picture of dominating people in this country. I'm a big bell hooks person. Dominating the people in this country through contrived economic collapse, right? So who benefits? I love asking that question. Who benefits? Well, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, I think, gives us a clue. The OBBA, is effectively a wealth transfer from like normal Americans to the top. They've already made a shitload of money. They want more. They're greedy assholes. We can get into the psychology of billionaires later, but by leaving no money for the rest of us, and then confirming Emile Beauvais, right, who has literally been on record saying that sometimes laws should be ignored, courts should be ignored. What you're doing is creating the circumstances where people are so desperate for food, for housing, for shelter, for the basic necessities to survive, that they are easy to dominate. Dissent gets quelled, right? We've seen the circle expand on who the targets are. First, it was like the media, right? Then it was universities. Then he got $100+ billion for rounding up migrants, which, by the way, he still can't deport as many as Obama and Biden did. Crazy, right? So we're in this situation where the circle of who is affected is getting bigger, right? It was immigrants, and then it was homelessness. Next it's going to be like LGBT. I'm a member. I feel like that gives me some. I'll put it this way: I've been ahead of the curve on all of this. I've already sold my house, right? I'm like ready to go. My money's in an account. Trying to get out of the country. Sorry. So yeah, the other big story here is like the currency devaluation, dollar devaluation, which would like really benefit like Russia, but also benefit the billionaires. I think this is why we're having so much conversation about like stable coins and crypto and all of that. Trump is a grifter, so any way to make a buck. Anyway, like I said, knowledge is power. I would love to hear in the comments if you think I'm wrong on any of this. I pride myself on being ahead of the curve, like I said. Yeah, what you got? Hey, my name is.
All right. Now, what I want to point out, the word that the thing that got me onto his video was a terminology that he used, and I want all of you to figure this out. Contrived economic collapse. Contrived economic collapse. I want you to think about this. Donald Trump came into power about lowering prices, making things better. But we know that he's not doing that. But that's beside the point, right? All Donald Trump is not smart, but the people that work for Donald Trump cannot be stupid, and I don't think they are in the least stupid. We are in our economic system. We are in a what's known as end stage capitalism. For those of you who gone with me over the years, there are many programs that I've done where we show that mathematically speaking, capitalism isn't sustainable. I always use a simple mathematical formula that if you have 1% growing, 1% of the population growing at, let's say, an aggregate average of, let's say, 7%, and the whole economy only growing at 2%, that is completely unsustainable, because what it means is the 1% is constantly taken from the masses, which is exactly what's happening right now. We went from having assets, and they all kinds of techniques are used to do that, right? We take a look at we used to build up the values into our homes. Well, as the capitalist market needed more instruments to take your money, they found ways to do that, right? Things like, okay, you have your home and everything is great. Now we create something called a reverse mortgage to take your home away legally. And actually, you're doing the most of the job. But again, given that we're not all financially disciplined, again, we create all these instruments to keep taking and taking. That's how the upper class can keep growing as they grow. And I can go with the way we handle extraction from minerals and all these other things that actually show we are at the end stage. In the beginning, in the earliest stages of capitalism, as we could screw different ethnicities and make it and make it an ethnic thing, make it a race thing, right? You extract as much as you can, but suddenly, and you create your structure by creating angst between different groups as you periodically, methodically hit one group to keep extracting. Well, in end state capitalism, you are at the last group. Hey, my white brothers and sisters, it's your time. So that's where the extraction is occurring, and they did it in a very ingenious manner. Dr. Richard Wolff. Dr. Richard Wolff showed how it was done. They were never giving you wage increases. They were never giving you more money or anything. What they were doing is constantly increasing your credit. So, whereas in the 70s, very few people had any real amount of credit, now we are flushed in it because we're not paying you, we're simply paying you to pay us. That is what end state capitalism starts to look at. Now, then you ask, when he talks about contrived collapse, how does contrived collapse really work? Well, you claim that the undocumented workers are the problem, right? But you also know, the people that work for Donald Trump knows that the undocumented workers play an extraordinarily important part of our economy. Construction of homes, uh, collection of our produce and fruits, etc., maintaining the grounds, maintaining the people's kids. They pay an inordinate amount. Again, they're responsible for their labor makes all of those realities affordable, or those services affordable. But at the same time, we're getting rid of those people. But we're doing it for a twofer, because it's not like we're dumping these people out of the country, deporting them. We don't want to do that. We want a twofer. And the twofer is that we build our concentration camps. And the concentration camps are what again? Run by our plutocracy, all those private sector jails, those private sector tents, those private sector camps run by the government. And the government took our money, big tax increase to pay to house all these people, not just throw them out of the country, but to house them, feed them, not in good places, but somebody makes a lot of money giving these people scraps to eat. Somebody's making a lot of money doing that. So, look. So that is how they leverage the undocumented worker two ways. Both to not, to go ahead and not have the services that we have there, as well as then now get them to be income sources for the wealthy. Now, what does that do? That means a lot of our produce and these other products are going to go up in price. There are going to be scarcities. And what a lot of people don't tell you is an increase in price as you sell less product is even more profitable for the corporatocracy. But it also lends to an instability that serves them well. But who cares? They live in gated communities and they have private armies. Now, what other contrived collapse is there? The tariffs. The tariffs. They're taking your tax dollars to pay for to imprison folks, enriching the person who are creating the prisons. They're also giving you tariffs, charging you tariffs, telling you that other countries are paying it, but all of you are paying these tariffs, taking it out. That is money extracted out of the economy, which means This is money you can't spend. Hi, Patrick. Let me finish one thought, Patrick, but
Hey,
stay on the line for me. Stay on the line.
absolutely, please go ahead.
Yeah. So you have the tariffs coming in, extracting economic activity out of it, right? And the thing about it is this: if you are taking that tariffs and immediately using that tariff for SNAP or using that tariff to do something with, that money would be right back in circulation in the economy. But this tariff is being used effectively to pay for tax cuts, which means it's not getting back into the economy. They may be investing it in Monaco. Okay? So that lowers economic activity, and we start to see the things that we're seeing stagflation, because you get the price increase from the one time price increase from the tariffs, the constancy of price increases from scarcity, from not having the labor to fulfill it, the construction industry going down the tubes because you don't have the workers, and a 35% tariff on the country that sells you the most woods to build your houses. That is a self-inflicted wound if you wanted it to be a self-inflicted wound, but it's not a self-inflicted wound. It is what they want. Manufactured collapse. Go ahead, my brother.
I wanted to thank you for the video. It pretty much mirrored what my concern was this morning and what I was sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've also touched on credit, which is instead of increasing our
Wages.
wages and lowering our cost of living, they just gave us credit. And
Yep.
you're 100% correct on that. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up is there are several people in the chat and a lot of people that I talk to that are buying into this. They need to lower the interest rates. They need to lower the interest rates. This is
Oh
something
no.
we went through in 2008. When you lower the interest rates, what you're doing is you're giving Trump more time to destroy the economy. But back on the interest rates, when you lower an interest rate, you're actually disincentivizing loans. If
Yep.
somebody can't make money on a loan, they're not going to give it to you.
Right.
And so if
R-
you're going to lower interest rates to the point that nobody wants to loan money, it's actually going to be more detrimental than leaving it at 5 or 6%, which actually isn't very high at all.
right.
Historically, we went through 18%, 19% during Reagan, and people were buying houses still. They're not now.
I remember
Now,
when people were holding mortgages at 16%.
yeah. But my parents or my ex's parents went through that.
Yeah.
And he had a construction company, and he had a successful construction company through that time period, where not everybody could get a loan. And then another thing that happens when you do lower those interest rates, what you're really doing is you're just robbing sales from the future. Somebody that might be planning on buying a house in 2 or 3 years will say, well, the interest rate's at 3%. I don't know when it's going to happen again. Let's hurry up and buy that house.
Right.
Well, they're not going to buy another house in 3 years. So what you're doing is you're robbing theft from the future to bolster the economy. So all you're doing is you're moving a crash further down. You're kicking the can further down the road. That's
You
all
know,
you're doing.
I
And
don't
go ahead.
hold one second. Let me get this call and then tie them in. Okay. John, hold on. Let's let Patrick finish up. Go ahead, Patrick.
Sure, sure. Yep.
Yeah, I was just pointing out that you're robbing sales from the future. So what you're doing is you're kicking the can down the road for economic issues.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to developer websites and you go to websites that are explaining why housing is dropping 40% right now, they're not talking about the interest rates. They're talking about the lack of lumber and the lack of skilled labor.
Labor and lumber. Yeah, the two L's. Labor and lumber. It's amazing. It is. Let me tell you, Patrick. When you look at the internals, it's hard to believe this isn't a contrived collapse, because nobody except Trump could be so. I don't like to use the word, but I have to stupid to do what they're doing with tariffs with getting rid of taking immigrants off the farm, taking immigrants out of construction, and having what they're doing on the streets. I mean, this is contrived, and
Yep.
this is to create a shock in the country where people feel like their legs, the floor is under their legs is falling. That is how they
Yep.
want you to feel. And what I'm trying to tell us is we don't need to feel that. We are going to take them out. That is what we got to do.
Yep.
Hold on a second, Patrick. Let's see what
Let,
John
let,
has to say. Go ahead. Finish, Patrick. Go ahead.
one off-topic comment. You don't have to apologize for calling them stupid anymore. Anybody that's going to move nuclear submarines that don't need to be moved in order to threaten somebody that has been hostile to us in the past and is not mentally fit is an idiot. We are on the edge of nuclear war right now because of this guy. And I warned the station in September.
Right. It is amazing, isn't it? It is amazing. Hold up, Patrick. Let's get John a chance. Come on in, John.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. Yeah, what is the end game for them destroying the economy except control? And then they'll buy all the assets up. They'll have more authoritarian control than they ever have before. But it's just not going to work. It never does really work. In the end, they might rule, but in the end, people just don't like it. I don't know why. I mean, do they really think that we're that stupid, that we're and hopeless and helpless and despondent, that we're just going to stand by and let that happen? Maybe some people are, but I mean, the fact that you're having this program and people are very interested in preventing that from happening and not allowing do this, there's always arrogance when it comes to power. And they have a golden passport. They can go anywhere. They have that money in banks all over the place. They're all good. And, they're destroying the middle class. They're destroying the working class. And the only thing that's going to be left is just them. And you can't have a democracy or a country of just billionaires.
Well,
It
here's
just
the thing,
doesn't.
John.
Yeah,
Here's the
it's
thing, John.
insane.
I want to point this
Yeah.
out, okay? The biggest parasites in our country are the wealthy. The wealthy produce
Yeah.
nothing. They produce nothing. Okay?
Yep.
Their capital works for them. No, their capital don't. We work for them. We
Yeah.
work. We are the intellect, etc. So they can't
Create
survive
the
on their
cap.
own. So what they have to do is
Yep.
they have to have sycophants. You look into our chat
Yep.
right now. There are sycophants that they worship the system, right? The economic system. What we have to
And
do,
yeah.
the people that are informing, has to do. I see Patrick Lovell is in the chat right now as well. Patrick has a great series, The Con, that I actually that we've done quite a bit with. I've done some interviews with him on that as well, released as a series. But hey, Peggy Lopez, how you doing, beautiful? Great to see you here. What we have to realize is that the magic number is 6%, and all of you that are listening to my voice here should remember that number, 6%. That's the amount. Is it 6 or 3%? I think it's 6%. That is the amount of people we have
Yeah.
to get activated to bring this
To win.
down. Yeah, that's all.
Yep.
6%. We
Yep.
just and you know what? Guess what we showed with the King's protest? Over 3%
Almost.
of America was involved. Yeah. So look,
Yep. Yeah.
it is there for us. It is there for us to keep working. It is there for us to take. All right. Anything else, John, before I go back to Patrick and anybody else?
No, I think in the end we're going to win. It's just not.
Absolutely.
It's actually it's a war. They are at war with us. They hate us. They want to beat us into place. These are the kind of people that, first they came for the communists. They didn't speak up. They're authoritarians. They think nothing of crushing people. They're hateful. And I'm not a violent person, but we can stand up to them. We have to. What other choice do we really have? We're going to allow them to destroy our country and the future for our children. No.
I need to correct something. I need to correct something because like I said, whenever I say something wrong, always want to correct immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Rudin went and did the research. 3.5% is the number we have to hit, and
Yeah,
we came close to that for
very
the
close.
no kings. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, I'm grateful for your show, and your people are great. The guests are great. You know, it's wonderful. It's very uplifting for me to hear this, because you feel often very isolated, but you're not. You really are
no, no.
not.
I
You
like I
know.
tell folks all
No.
of the time. I will. If anybody wants to leave the country, those fascists can. We stay and we
Yeah.
take back the country. Period. And I tell you what,
Yep.
a lot of what we do, that's all. You just have to maintain the engagement. Thank you, John. Hey, Patrick, anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I'm a broken record on this, but John asked what was the end game for the rich crashing the economy. They monetized the last two crashes, 2008 and COVID.
Yes.
They make money
Yes.
off of it.
Yes.
Yep.
They're waiting. They're going to do this every 10 years until we stop it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree 100%. Hey, thank you, brothers. Let's go ahead and the next subject that I had was a big bad bill. But if anybody else needs to call in to say anything, thank you guys. I'm going to hang up on this one. If there's anything else that anybody needs to call in and talk about, you know that we're here. Let's see. Welcome, Nancy Triggs, Richard Temple. Thank you for being here. Uh, Bridge MCP says how undocumented immigrants contribute to our economy and pay higher taxes than many major corporations. In 2022, America's 10.9 million undocumented immigrants paid $96.7 billion in taxes. That included $19 billion in federal income tax, $32.3 billion in federal payroll tax. On a state and local level, undocumented immigrants contributed $37.3 billion in taxes, and in 40 of 50 states, they pay a higher effective state local tax rate than the top 1% of households. The top 1% of highest income households paid an average of 7.2% in 2023, while the average undocumented immigrant paid 10.1%. Effective tax rate to state and local government. It is estimated that $40 to 137 $40 to $137 billion of additional revenue could be generated each year if these people were granted work authorization. This is because a less exploitable workforce would be paid higher wages, thus pay more taxes, and tax compliance by both employers and employees would increase. Undocumented immigrants paid an effective federal income rate of 5.27 in 2022, and which was higher than some of the wealthiest Americans and mega corporations. And the most important part of that statement is a 37 billion, at least 37 billion they pay in social security taxes every year, something they will never ever be able to use. I want you to think about that. They will never be able to use their social security or Medicare tax. There's a friend of mine, he has his account, he pays all his bills, he pays all his taxes, including social security taxes. But when he goes to the doctor, he has to do it cash. The brother came down, he's from Mexico. He came down with cancer and he didn't tell me anything about it. But there are uh, special doctors that operate here in Houston. Doesn't go through all the rules that we have with uh, that he had to use to go cut out the cancer that he had and to give him the chemo that he needed. A secondary economy for those who can't participate in the legitimate economy. You know, when I talk about our act about the consultants that work with our team, if you will, not knowing what's occurring on the ground, not knowing what people are going through on the ground, and wonder why we lose. You know, the difference between Trump and, let's say, Kamala is that Trump went on the ground for the racist, he went on the ground for the sexist, He made them know that we got your back. Come on, racist, we got your back. Come on, sexist, we got your back. He made that clear. We do a lot of hedging. We can't even support Mandami, who won in a landslide in New York. We can't even say this is who the people want and support this guy. And you wonder why you lose? You wonder why Mandami is going to win New York and win big, and you notice nobody's talking about it because how the hell are they going to say, with all the billionaires putting all they have in New York against this guy, and this guy's still going to win. He's still going to win. And I tell you what, of course there's always that small tiny chance that he doesn't. But I tell you what, folks, if Mandani wins, or should I say when Mandani wins, it should teach every single progressive Democrat to not hold back. Go all into the people. Hey, Bruce, how you doing, my brother? Just scrolled down and saw you there, man. Great having you here. Remember, when he wins, that would have told you something. And for people that say, that's New York. New York is so liberal. Not true. New York elected Pataki as governor. New York elected Rudy Giuliani as mayor. It elected Bloomberg as mayor. New York elects a lot of Republicans, not just in Republican districts, but the city itself and the state itself. So the belief that somehow Mandami can only occur in New York is false. What they're scared of is that Democrats and progressives pick up those messages in rural Mississippi, in rural Texas, in rural North Carolina, in rural South Carolina, in rural of all these places, because once you take on that message and win, Bacon's Rebellion. Look up, guys. Look up Bacon's Rebellion. Because I tell you, that is what we're talking about, and that is their fear. That is their fear, and that is ready for action. Anyway, folks, we're at 56, and I need to exit. I need to go ahead and finish staging that stuff that you guys saw. For all of you who haven't seen it yet, this is my interview station that I'm going to be putting on Radio Row in New Orleans tomorrow. I'll have all of that set up. So a wider table, and we'll be able to put a bit more stuff there. But that is what we are going to be doing. I'm going to do at least 30 to 50 interviews. It all depends on on where they have Radio Row. Every now and then they have Radio Row that they don't put in a highly accessible place, but that's what we're going to do. So folks, please remember you can support our program by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And how do you do that? Those of you who are paid supporters, if you go ahead and become a paid supporter, it's very inexpensive. I'm going to put the link in there. You get to read all of my books on Substack. And what are my books? There are my books there. Let me just kind of show you. These are all of my books you can read on Substack, right? So check it out. Please become paid subscribers. It's inexpensive, and you'd be doing a good job. You're helping us put that message out. You're helping us put the message out. So very important. Again, to become a paid subscriber, just go to Politics Done Right. Just go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and select the paid option. And it's inexpensive. It's like buying your good old boy a coffee. Do you license catch a cab over Uber or Lyft, but check pricing? Thank you. Oh, really? I'll take that up. Thank you for that information. Do you lie? Hey, guys, Do You Lie treated me nicely tonight. Let's give Do You Lie a hand. Give him some hearts and give him a clap hand. He was nice to me today. You know I love you, Do You Lie. Especially when you treat me with a little bit of, when you're nice to me, my friend. All right, folks. So yeah, please support the program best you can. We need to keep doing this, and we need to be there encouraging people. We need to be there honoring people. And we also must be there where people are. That's what that 30-something-year-old Mandami, I love our youth. That 30-something-year-old Mandami is the direction the Democratic Party needs to take. It's the direction the Democratic Party needs to take. So again, one more time, please support the program. I put the links in there already. Yeah, I put it in both places. Anyway, I got to get out of here. Hey, D, how you doing? Why are you joining us as soon as we're leaving, D? Love you, girl. Anyway, got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.